What's up everybody, this is the first long-form video of Istek, and today I'm going to show you guys how I made a robotic hand that's controlled by Arduino. I'll make this intro pretty short, but I just want to say that I'm very excited about this channel and this first video, so please like and subscribe and stay tuned because this video is pretty interesting and I think you'll love it. Thanks everybody. I'm going to use this building montage of me making the first part of the robot to talk more about myself and about this channel. I'm an 18-year-old soon-to-be engineering student who really liked physics during high school. I was born, raised, and still live in Belgium, so English is my first language, so please keep that in mind if I make a mistake sometime during such speaking segments. As I just said, I really liked physics during high school, but I especially loved electronics and everything that had to do with electricity. This interest led me to a bunch of YouTube channels about mechanical or mechatronic engineering, which eventually led me to buying my own 3D printer and Arduino and a bunch of components so that I could start building my own engineering projects. I tried building a few projects during my free time, but it always ended up in me procrastinating and basically doing nothing and having no real results after months of having my 3D printer and my Arduino. So I wanted to change that by making this YouTube channel. My hope is that I won't be procrastinating as much because of my viewers and just the love of making these videos. I also want to tell you that I don't have any professional equipment for recording, so that's why my voice changes depending on what I use to film, and that's also why this video is in 30 FPS because I'm using my iPad, but next video will definitely be better. It seems like I use my time very well because, as you can see, the first part of the robot has been finished. I hope I didn't bore you with the entire monologue. So what you just saw me make is actually the simplest part of the entire robot hand, because it's just a bunch of parts which I just have to put some servos into and screw them together so that they don't fall apart. But it's a robot hand, so it has to grab stuff, because I'm pretty sure every type of hand can grab stuff like I'm doing here. So I have to make a kind of gripper, and I thought about it for a long time, and that's gonna be the hardest part of this entire project, because it's just a bunch of trial and error, and it's a bunch of 3D printing, and it's not that fast, so it'll take a long time, I think, but it's gonna be okay. So after a bit of brainstorming and looking at other gripper systems, I decided to use gears, one of which would be mounted on a servo, and the other one would be next to that other gear. The servo would turn the one gear that's mounted on it, and the other one would be driven by that turning gear in the opposite direction, which is exactly what you need when you want to grip something. And this is how the test mechanism will look like after I have printed it. After multiple failed prints or wrong prints, I finally made everything exactly how it should be, and that's what I'm showing right now. So the servo is already getting screwed in, and after that I'm gonna put the gears in, but this is only a test to see if my idea of one gear driving the other with a servo motor could work to make such a gripper mechanism. So as you just saw, guys, it works just like I wanted it to. The one gear is driving the other, but it's still got some small little adjustments needed. To make this second gear spin, I'm using this hole here in this little stick, I'd call it, to fasten this gear here so that it can spin. But this hole, I just think the hole is a bit too wide in comparison to this, because if I put it in, which I'll have to do carefully because I'm filming, it's pretty hard to do this with just one hand. While the servos, if I put it in, you see here it's pretty snug. It's also good that this part is a bit wider so that it doesn't fall out the other end. But because the hole's a bit too wide, it can just fall out if I turn it over. And finally, after multiple prints you don't want to know, it's finally perfected. This is the last time in this video that I show you any 3D model, any printing, and any building. And as you can see, I just changed the original gears so that it has some type of claw, and that's gonna make the gripper. This mechanism isn't that much different to the previous mechanism because it still does the same thing basically, but as you can see, the holder is a bit longer, and in the bottom middle of it you have a hole, and that hole is going to be used to put it in the servo of the entire arm. And as you can see, I also printed those gears with the claws, which are going to make up the gripper. I wanted to say real quickly that what I'm making here in this video is just a prototype, and it's not final at all because it won't even be able to move how I want it to move. It's only going to be able to grip. So don't worry about it if I don't show any footage of it moving, because that's not even the point. I'm going to talk about it more in the next part, in the outro actually. But I'm gonna make a second video about this. So with some pretty simple code, I can make the gripper clamp down, as you can see right here. So it really does clamp down and release. So that's the infinite animation, I guess, that this has right now. But I finally made the design, so it's finally finished. And I'm gonna be honest, I trashed like 4 servos or 3 servos while making this. So some of these servos here, as you can see, there's 3 here. I think one of these or 2 of these are basically placeholders because they just can't work. They just make the final design look like this. I ordered new ones, but they're arriving in a few days. So, and I don't want to make the video too long. So I'm just going to make a second part about adding the servos, the better servos, the working servos here. And also adding inverse kinematics so that the gripper, of course, can move naturally, very naturally. And that it can be controlled with a joystick as well. Of course, that this stepper motor here can turn around. They can just move freely in 360 degrees. Thank you guys for watching. And if you want to see that second part, where I'll be adding those inverse kinematics and also changing the design a bit, because it's not always that, as you can see, it's not very balanced. I'm gonna have to change that as well. And I'm also just gonna make it look a bit nicer because you see that all these servos here are exposed, and that's pretty ugly in my opinion. So I'm gonna change all of this. I'm gonna upgrade this robot hand, I'll call it, next video. So please guys, like, subscribe, and put on notifications so that you can be notified when the second video comes out. Thanks for watching, guys.